What's going on, guys? Vital Syntax here, and this is some gameplay from Team Deathmatch on Karg Island with the AUG assault rifle, and I'm using the suppressor attachment, and that's about it. And this is definitely not the way you want to go if you're going to try to play to your full potential. I think most people know that you want to use a red dot, a foregrip, and a heavy barrel. It's kind of the, I guess, considered the best setup for an assault rifle. It obviously depends on the map and the game type you're playing, but I do find that the suppressor can actually be incredibly useful in certain game modes and on certain maps. Now, they did nerf the suppressor quite a bit. I remember when the game first came out, everybody used to use the suppressor, and then there was a big update and they nerfed the crap out of it, and they buffed the heavy barrel, and especially the heavy barrel in combination with the foregrip, which is what most people will stick to nowadays. But I still like to use the suppressor on certain maps and certain game modes. For example, Team Deathmatch on certain maps. If it's a more open map, if you're playing on a more linear map, even if you're playing like Conquest or Rush or something, like say you're playing Rush on Operation Metro or Rush on Grand Bazaar or Conquest on one of those maps, they're very linear maps and there's not a lot of flanking routes and there's not a lot of ways to get behind or around your enemies and shoot them from the sides and in the back. And that's really what a suppressor is really good for, is getting behind enemy lines, taking out enemies without being detected. Because the minimap in this game is incredibly useful, and using a suppressor is obviously going to keep you off of that minimap. And obviously, I mean, you're still going to make sound effects when you're shooting a suppressed gun, but it's so quiet, and most of the time players aren't even paying attention. Sometimes they have music playing in the background, or they just assume that it may be teammates firing. If they don't see those red dots flashing on the map, then they just assume that it's not anybody shooting. And it seems like the suppressor has actually gotten a little bit better because most people don't use it, and therefore most people aren't used to other people using it. So when you do use it, it can be really effective, and I've had a couple matches where it really shines, and there's obviously other matches where I feel like I probably should be using other attachments that are more suited for different types of engagement. So it all just depends. But one of the things that I was looking at with the suppressor is what weapons to use it with, and I found some interesting things about the suppressor and how it affects the bullet velocity of assault rifles and almost every other weapon type. So I was testing it with the AUG because the AUG actually has the fastest firing bullet, and I assumed, well, if I'm going to put a suppressor on a weapon that's obviously in a slow the bullet travel time, I should probably choose the assault rifle with the fastest travel time. That way it has, you know, the least effective hit to your bullet speed. That way my bullets are still traveling somewhat quickly, and I can still hit moving targets in most situations. But what I found is that the AUG, although it without a suppressor it shoots the fastest as far as bullet velocity or muzzle velocity, it isn't the fastest muzzle velocity when you have a suppressor, which is kind of weird. It's actually not even up there tied for the top fastest firing with a suppressor. Things like the F2000 and the M16 are. Obviously the M16 is always at the top in everything, but so that was kind of interesting. So the AUG really isn't the best option for a suppressor. You're probably going to want to use an M16 or an F2000. The FAMAS as well also has a faster firing bullet, which is kind of interesting. And the other thing I found is that it also affects similarly with sniper rifles. I assumed that, you know, the M98B having the fastest traveling bullet out of the bolt action sniper rifles, that it would be the best option if I was going to use a suppressed silencer, or not a suppressed silencer, a suppressed sniper. And a suppressed sniper can actually be really useful because, you know, staying off the mini-map while you're trying to, you know, pop people in the head can be pretty awesome, especially up close. I mean, you don't want to use a suppressor at longer ranges with the sniper rifle. The travel time and the bullet speed and the damage drop-off and the increased bullet drop is just really hard to handle. But I also interestingly found that all of the bolt-action sniper rifles shoot at the same speed when you have a suppressor. So the M40A5, which travels really slow as far as bullet velocity, I mean, it travels slower than the assault rifles like the M16. And even with a suppressor, I think they all of the bolt action snipers travel at 310 meters per second. I mean, which is, you know, still fast enough to kill somebody, but it's so slow. So there's really no advantage to using a M98B if you're going to use a suppressor. So I, you know, mostly stuck to using my typical M40A5 or the SV98, which are my two favorite bolt action sniper rifles. So that was just kind of interesting. I thought I would throw that out there for other people that want to use a suppressor, you know, in a game mode or a map that really has a good use for it. You don't always want to use the weapon that has the fastest traveling bullet normally, because it's not always the case. I mean, it changes if you have a suppressor. So you kind of want to look on Synthic to see, what weapon has a fast traveling bullet with a suppressor and without a suppressor, because there's kind of weird, interesting results. And I hope that they can fix that for Battlefield 3 or for Battlefield 4. Mostly what I want them to fix for Battlefield 4 is get rid of the M16, goddammit. Balance it, because every time I look at Synthic, I just see, okay, the M16 has one of the fastest traveling bullets, it has one of the fastest reload times, it has the fastest fire rate, it has just everything is the best about it, and that just gets me more and more frustrated every time I look at it. That's why I try and avoid, stats and stuff, because then you're trying to kind of playing a numbers game, choosing a weapon that has the best stats. Versus choosing a gun that you actually like the way it handles, the way it looks, and the way it feels, or the way it sounds. But in some cases, like I just found out the other day, it can be really, really useful to find out that the AUG actually doesn't perform that well with the silencer, or that all of the, and I'm not saying it doesn't perform well, I'm just saying it doesn't perform well in the realm of travel speed compared to when it doesn't have a suppressor. And also, when I found out that all of the sniper rifles travel at the same bullet speed even with a suppressor. So that was really interesting to find out, so I thought I'd throw that out there. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed the video, feel free to give me a like or a favorite, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.